Welcome to the SVG-TV News. It's for Monday, June 22nd. I am Khalil Kato with the details. To date, over 23,000 Vincentians who were affected either directly or indirectly by COVID-19 have reportedly benefited from some form of support from the government. So says Minister of Finance Camilo Gonzalez, as he provided Parliament today with an update on the government's COVID-19 stimulus package, which was rolled out 2 months ago. The stimulus package catered for the unemployed and displaced Vincentians as a result of the pandemic, and the finance minister said that more than 3,000 persons have applied for assistance from the National Insurance Services, the NIS, with the latest update revealing that close to 400 businesses have been affected by the pandemic.
Data from the National Insurance Services indicate that 395 businesses have partially or completely shut down since the 1st of March 2020. These 395 businesses represent over 16% of the total active employers registered at the NIS. Over 3,000 claims have been filed with the NIS for employment benefits and displacement supplementary income. In and of itself, this increase in claims suggests an additional 6% of the labor force is now unemployed. Over 14,814 payments and donations have already been made to Vincentians impacted by the COVID-related slowdown. That number balloons to 23,003 if one also considers the 8,000 plus pensioners that received a prepayment of 2 months pension benefits at the outset of the pandemic.
Minister Gonzalez added that based on data provided by the NIS, the unemployed and displaced are mainly women, and that 66% of them are under the age of 44. The finance minister also told Parliament that SVG's revenue declined by 18% last month, with value-added tax recording a fall of close to 50%.
Relative to May 2019, value-added tax collections in May, which sometimes act as a rough proxy for commercial and retail activity, fell by 49% when compared to the same period last year. Other relatively small but nonetheless significant sources of revenue, like alien landholding licenses, stamp duties, and yacht licenses, all suffered the expected collapse as movement, migration, and investment became more difficult during the pandemic.
Minister Gonzalez said SVG has done well in managing its response to the COVID-19 pandemic compared to other countries, and this attributes this to the approach taken by Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonzalez.
Fortunate that production continued in our agriculture, manufacturing, and construction sectors. And we are fortunate that the Honorable Prime Minister charted a courageous and prudent course between complacency and hysteria, based on science, the experiences of other states, and the particular circumstances of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The Honorable Prime Minister sought to build consensus among citizens, target vulnerable persons or dangerous activities, and avoid draconian overreaction in addressing the Vincentian component of this pandemic.
The Love Box initiative by the Ministry of Agriculture has afforded many Vincentians with gainful employment and provided a steady flow of income to farmers. So says Minister of Agriculture Saboto Caesar in a report to Parliament on his ministry's response to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Receiving good prices, farm workers are employed, timely payments are made, truckers are transporting, persons have been employed to facilitate grading and packaging, and boxes are being sourced locally. I take this opportunity to thank everyone for making this project a success so far.
Minister Caesar said in their quest to assist the vulnerable people of SVG, more than 370 farmers came on board with the Love Box initiative, and this eventually led to the establishment of 4 buying depots, with a 5th to become operational soon.
In Lanley Park, Lauders, Lacroix, and Rosebank, a 5th buying depot will be functional by the end of this week. Thus far, 5,000 boxes of 100% locally produced food. The 5th one is going to be at Rillian Hill.
PCR trial testing for COVID-19 has already commenced, with the official in-country testing now expected to begin on Wednesday. This was stated in Parliament today by Minister of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Luke Brown, who said his ministry is prepared to do 8,000 COVID-19 PCR tests. Minister Brown said that in addition to the PCR in-country testing, 30,000 interferon drugs were ordered and will arrive in the country soon.
We have a sufficient amount, Mr. Speaker, of personal protective equipment in stock to cover our needs at this time. PCR testing for COVID-19 is expected to officially commence on Wednesday, June 24, 2020. We are already doing trial tests, and we have on hand, Mr. Speaker, supplies that would enable us to do over 8,000 PCR tests for COVID-19 in St. Vincent and the Grenadines right now. This is important in light of the upcoming resumption of commercial flights. Mr. Speaker, I'm also happy to report that today the supplies or stocks of the Cuban drug interferon purchased by the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines at a price of roughly 30,000 Canadian dollars will arrive on a special flight at the Argyle International Airport.
Giving his analysis on the number of persons who contracted COVID-19 in SVG, Minister Brown said the majority of cases were from sailors, with only 6 being contracted locally.
19 of the 29 confirmed cases can be traced to cruise ships, 11 from recent reparations, and 8 from earlier arrivals via air. 6 of the 29 cases form part of a cluster that was discovered in a local community, the last case of which was found on May 19th. There were 4 other cases. We have not seen any positive cases apart from those discovered among Vincentians who came home on cruise ships since May 19, or in other words, over 1 month ago. The number of persons, Mr. Speaker, currently in quarantine is 182.
SVG will soon have a medical vessel, as a contract has already been signed with Damon Shipyard Group and the Ministry of National Security. This was announced in Parliament today by Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, who said the medical vessel carries a cost of 4.3 million EC dollars and will be partially retrofitted in Turkey, with the rest of the work being done here in SVG.
The dimension of the vessel, 52 feet length, 16 feet wide. The depth to the deck from the baseline, that's the side of the vessel from the top of the deck to the waterline, approximately 6.5 feet. The max draft in salt water, that's the depth in which the vessel would sink in the water, approximately 3 feet. The maximum speed is 31 knots. A life buoy, life jacket, life raft, and emergency signals, stretchers, an extensive medical kit, including a defibrillator. We will put in the oxygen tank and other support facilities. Damen is also providing a standalone firefighting unit.
The Prime Minister explained how payment arrangements for the vessel will be made, which includes a down payment before it sets sail for SVG.
A 15% deposit is to be paid, 658,736,86 cents. The first installment was actually paid on the 26th of May, the first installment of 10%. 439,157,000 EC dollars. The 5% second installment as part of the deposit to be paid as per the contract 2 weeks before delivery. So we have a $219,580 EC to be paid before we receive the vessel.
The medevac vessel was agreed by Cabinet to be called Baliso, which the Prime Minister said is for a special reason and is quite timely.
To name this vessel the Baliso in part of the recognition in this period, this year of renewal, and the role of the way the Garifuna people suffered and the struggle. when they were put for 6 months in Baliso after the war with the British, the national war with the British. So we'll see the Baliso on this particular stand patrol vessel 1605.
Opposition Senator Israel Bruce has accused the government of being reckless in the way it's dealing with the promotion of Youth Micro-Enterprises Prime program. Bruce, who called for a greater level of accountability for the program, was speaking at the official opening of the NDP's South Central Windward Party office on Saturday night.
Have to be given a car by your father unless you are very responsible. You don't have to pay the insurance. You don't have to pay the bank. You don't have to find the money to put in gas. You're going to run that car reckless. You know why? Because there is no responsibility on you to take care of that car. I am not saying that the young people of this country or this constituency are reckless. I am saying that the government is reckless in the way it went about or it is going about dealing with the Prime program. Because they are so hurried to undermine some propositions, they rush to Prime. And when it is not Prime, they're giving you lime to plant in the dry season.
On NBC Radio Today, Chairman of the Prime Committee, Anthony Regisford, said that there are measures in place to ensure that the Prime grant monies are spent on exactly what was stated in the business proposals of the recipients. He said to further ensure accountability, all of the monies are not being disbursed at once to the recipients.
A successful Prime awardee or grantee, that person in the application would have stated the purpose for the funds, and invariably there's a list of equipment or tools that they would require. So the idea in the procurement is that you don't get that cash in your hand to go and buy the equipment that you're seeking. The Prime Implementation Unit, along with the Ministry of Economic Planning and the people in finance, they do the procurement. So that's the first.
So they don't give you the cash?
They don't give you all the cash.
Okay.
Okay. So that's the first step in ensuring that the money is actually used for the.
Regisford also noted that there is a Prime Implementation Committee in place which does regular checkups on the Prime recipients, monitoring their business operations.
I mean, really, the more money you ask for is the more scrutiny that you would be given, obviously. Sometimes you've just got to go with trust. People, I should have mentioned that in the structure of the grants, there are 3 tiers. The first tier is for persons who are looking for monies up to $5,000. The second tier is $5,000 to $15,000, and the third tier is $15,000 to $40,000. So clearly, if you are in the third tier, that's a more detailed proposal. You'll have to supply a lot more information, a business plan. We'll have to really test the viability of this because clearly it's a lot more money.
Today, a few concerned citizens picketed outside the House of Assembly, claiming that their rights have been trampled upon and that they needed their voices to be heard. They said the peaceful protest is one of many which will continue until their concerns are addressed by the relevant authorities.
I have 3 children in university. All the years I was working to get them to college. They're in college right now. I don't even know they're going to college because I cannot help them. This is a man who had a business, Mom. Used to have 2 boatloads of cement used to come in at the wharf. When one day at the dock half loading, another one out there wait to come in. 2 boatloads of cement, making thousands of blocks a day. That's a simple kitchen in the background there. A cooking, give God thanks for it still. That's called Phoenix Kitchen, and I'm on my farm. This is very fast we used me too.
What I want to say today, but equal rights should be for everybody. Not one set of people, for every living Vincentian. So my thing is when we are it, we must come and support something. When it's war to support, all of us must come out and support. Forget which party it belongs to. All of us are Vincentian, you understand? And I am a man who is to support what is good, the country, I'll support it. If it's bad, I'll not support it. I used to support the former government right now in power, but what I see, what's going down, and not liking what is going on, the answer is my country.
Meeting from party because I was a member of the ULP. I block road to put ULP in office. When I block road and I see wrong is going out, I stand up against wrong. I can't fight against wrong. And then when I go in there doing the same wrong, then I'm a hypocrite. And I will never ever be a hypocrite. I suffered, I took the government to courts, I won them, and the appeal matter. Because why? They want me to come and beg them for what is rightfully mine. This black boy here will never ever beg. My children got victimized because of the stance that I have to stand up for principle. Stand up for equal rights and justice, and he is outspoken. And you don't afraid to say what it is. Can't get a promotion, working for meager. But you will persist until the time is come. Because he said, Daddy, I won't be like you.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines is currently experiencing a large Saharan dust plume which started yesterday and continued today. The SVG Met Office said that this will continue until tomorrow when it's expected to thin out. Today, SVG-TV spoke with some persons in Kingstown who shared with us what they know about the Saharan dust and how they're being affected.
Saying is the suffering kicking up and nobody saying anything, but I get to understand it's the Sahara dust because somebody told me when I was coming to work on Friday, this is not the suffering, this is the Sahara dust, and it's affect us, it could affect our water, it could give us diarrhea and a lot of stuff like that. So they need to tell us more about it and how it come here, because I got to understand it's in all over the other Caribbean. So man cannot control that. This is the work of God. Yeah. So what we do, watch and pray for our nation. Yeah. Well, what I feel in any way, I know there's nothing I can do. I have to depend upon the master to clear it up. Okay, he's the only source. The mask? You know, it is good for wearing the mask, but some people aren't comfortable with the mask. Sometimes the mask, it make you can't breathe properly.
I have to protect myself. I have sinus. And then I have pressure. And then with the virus, I have to be more careful because of my age. The Sahara does what it does. Yeah. I stay inside, but I only had to come to town today to do some business, so I'm getting out of town now.
It's heavy. Yesterday I was coming from church, and when I come, the dust was flowing very heavy. And you know, right now, the people them who you see have little asthma thing, those are the people that it's going to affect more easily. Because I can naturally see like a woman was coughing at the time when the dust was, you know, echo around when we were coming. So I don't think it is a good idea, and it is not good for our health. So we have to be careful.
Okay, but you should have... No, it's not affecting me. And I ain't too long heard about it. I don't know. I don't know about it until I heard somebody talk about it this morning. Oh, I had a little coughing this morning. I don't know if it's from that, but otherwise than that, no.
Really, the dust ain't doing me nothing. It's only blowing. Where my pipe going?
Due to poor visibility and air quality, small craft operators are being asked to exercise caution. Persons with respiratory issues and allergies are being asked to keep with them at all times their medication, including asthma inhalers, in case of an emergency. Persons are also asked to limit their exposure to the Saharan dust by staying indoors when possible or wearing a dust mask if you must go outdoors. Affected persons are being advised to seek medical attention at their nearest healthcare center if they experience severe symptoms as a result of the increasing levels of Saharan dust. The elderly, persons with disabilities, children, women, disenfranchised, and the impoverished are the most vulnerable citizens in times of disasters, and Vice President of the National Society for Persons with Disabilities, Terence Davis, says that the entity is doing all it can to ensure that these persons are comfortable and protected at this time. Speaking on SVG-TV's Viewpoint program on Sunday, Davis said that though they have been facing some challenges, they have been doing their part to help help persons cope with the COVID-19 pandemic and prepare for the hurricane season.
Our members, I wouldn't say it's really disaster week, because we're in the pandemic time of the COVID-19. What we tried to do is we got some food packages to some of our members and so forth. The mobilization unit also helped as well, because we've met with them a couple of times. We've been able to at least know where to find most of our members, and because this is really a challenging thing because of the demographics of the country and so forth. And even though you may have an idea of where they are, sometimes just physically getting to them, it's really the issue. But we've also had where we've kept our office lines open, our private lines open, so if anybody needs any assistance, then we call on the different sectors that will help us and aid in whatever process we need help with.
Caseworker at the Social Protection Unit of the Ministry of National Mobilization, Susan Llewellyn, said they have hired additional caretakers to look after the elderly and persons with disabilities to ensure their well-being during this period of COVID-19.
Things in places, especially amid COVID. We have also, so far, we have hired more supervisors on the Open Care program, of which I supervise. We have also hired additional providers, not only supervisors, but providers to care for the vulnerable. And we must say the vulnerable in our ministry. We speak to the elderly, which is persons 60 years and over, and persons with disability. And I can say at this time that when we speak to persons with disability, we talk about persons who have mental challenges, medical challenges, physical challenges. So what we find is that most of the elderly would fall into that bracket as well, persons with disability, because a lot of our elderly are hypertensive, diabetic, may have acquired a disability throughout their life, not born with it.
Llewellyn said that the Ministry of National Mobilization has set up different programs to offer assistance to the vulnerable during this hurricane season.
So we are currently, we have the public assistance program that persons can access. We have other programs in place in terms of we are presently even in relation to even what Terence was speaking about a little earlier there, that we are now gathering data to do some digital mapping, Terence, so that we can not only know where our elderly and persons with disabilities are, but we want to even go thus far that we can, like with the supervisors, we map them to the clients, and we will know also if they're having a medical challenge or physical challenge, if it's wheelchair accessible where they are, if they're near to a river, if they're up a hill. So we are presently gathering data to assist.
Meanwhile, training officer with the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, Hulda Peters, is encouraging families with a vulnerable citizen living in their homes to ensure that there is a plan in place to deal with these persons in case of a disaster or an emergency.
For the family members who have persons who are vulnerable in their family unit, to ensure that they have a plan in place as to how they are going to deal with these persons in the event of an emergency, in the event of a disaster. You have to look at whether or not, if you have to evacuate, do you have access to transportation? Do you have enough medication? How are you going to take care of them? Where are you going to shelter? So these are some of the things, because everybody is thinking that maybe this is, we're supposed to do that, but we have to work with the family to do that, because you know your own situation, but we have to just work with you so that you have the knowledge and help you to put your plan together.
Peters said that their public education and awareness program set up to educate persons on measures and ways to protect themselves in times of a disaster has been hindered by the COVID-19 social distancing protocols. However, they are still doing all they can to educate the most vulnerable population.
Is that we worked with the Ministry of National Mobilization, the various organizations that deals with persons with disability, to collect data. We did interviews, we did survey, so that we can know how do we structure our messages to ensure that we reach these persons. And lately we have been also looking at, well, we actually did, like when the Prime Minister is giving his speech to mark the beginning of the hurricane season, we would collaborate with the School for Children with Special Needs, and we will also ensure that we have the sign language there, somebody there doing sign language, so that persons who are hearing impaired and so on can also get that information.
Air Canada, which suspended flights to SVG on March 26th due to the COVID-19 pandemic, will resume service to the Argyle International Airport on July 2nd. The airline said it will continue to monitor the situation closely in consultation with the Public Health Agency of Canada, Transport Canada, and Global Affairs, and will adjust its schedule going forward. Service to Barbados also resumes on July 2nd, to Grenada on July 6th, and St. Lucia on July 18th. Air Canada operates 2 flights into SVG on Thursdays and Sundays out of Pearson International Airport in Toronto.